Hi everyone, welcome to yet another interview for Overcoming Graduation. Today I'll be interviewing Jordan Macbeth, and we'll be able to find out about her career as a yoga instructor, a Reiki practitioner, and an astrologist. And you'll also get the benefit, if you go to my website at overcominggraduation.com, you'll be able to find a yoga routine that Jordan actually designed especially for me to help me deal with difficulty sleeping and low back pain. So let's get started with the interview. Here comes Jordan Macbeth. And it's Jordan Macbeth, that's the pronunciation?
Yep.
Okay, nothing, not make beef or...
Jordan Macbeth.
This is Jordan Makey. All right, okay. So we'll count down from 3. All right. Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Overcoming Graduation. Today we'll be doing another interview with a new friend of mine, Jordan Macbeth. Jordan, thank you for coming on the show.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
So Jordan has a variety of different, I guess you could say, professions or expertise that she's going to be able to share with us and enlighten us about a little bit. And but as with the other interviews in this podcast, I like to let the interviewees tell their story, tell how they got to where they are, and how they overcame graduation in their own unique way. So Jordan, if you'd like to kind of give us a little bit of your background and tell the listeners your story, you know, where you came from graduation, what the real world treated you like, and then how you came to find your passion and be doing what you're doing today.
Okay.
Just all that.
Yeah, just all that. So, I actually, for me, I feel like I found my passion or my calling a little later in life. The first part of my life, I'm 36 years old, so the first part of my life, probably close to up to about 29 years old, or 30 even. I practiced yoga, and I studied these different types of things that I was interested in, which is very much yoga, astrology, all this esoteric knowledge. But I didn't really, I practiced yoga, but I was still working in the mortgage industry. So I was very much, in the corporate world. And when I graduated from high school, I was already in that world. I was working in the mortgage industry. I was, doing a lot of corporate jobs, and I was working. There was different points in time where I was working multiple jobs, with barely a day off a week, and I was just, trying to scrape by, and I was miserable, and obviously my heart wasn't really into it, but I thought that's what you were supposed to do. And I tried, after high school, I tried college for, maybe altogether a year and a half. And I tried to study things that I knew I had interest in. Like I knew I was interested in business, owning my own business, being, an entrepreneur. But at that time, I don't even think I understood what entrepreneur was. I was, taking accounting classes, business classes, and all the stuff that that you have to take when you go to college. But I was just bored, and when I would go to class, I thought it was just me, and I just wasn't made for that type of education or whatever the case may be. But I was just bored to tears in class. I would find myself, they could not keep my attention. My mind was, I'm ADD anyways, so I'm like all over the place, one thing to the next, which I hear is a common trait for most entrepreneurs. But I couldn't keep my focus, and so I just realized, it's not for me, and so I quit college, and so that was kind of awkward because it was like I thought I was supposed to do that, and I felt like I wasn't living up to those expectations of, how I should show up in this world, and I just did my best to overcome that, but I was stuck in the corporate world, and throughout my life I've dealt with a lot of depression, anxiety, um, and I've always been the type of person who wants to look deeper into things and, understand things and find more meaning in things. And so I started practicing yoga when I was in my early 20s. A friend had introduced it to me, and I thought it was going to be easy, but recently somebody had come out, like a celebrity, like Madonna or something, was like all, ripped up, and she's supposedly been doing yoga. So I said, oh, okay, well, I'll try it. And I was hooked. Mm-hmm. And so immediately, and for me, one of the things I've noticed, about following my passion, one of the things I've learned is I know instantly. Mm-hmm. There's no second guessing. Usually if I'm second guessing, well, I don't know if I should or if I shouldn't, it's probably not what I should do. Mm-hmm. And that tends to be the case for a lot of people, most people, but that's what I've learned for myself. So I got into yoga in my early 20s, and I started noticing how much it helped me to release a lot of stuff that I was holding on to from the past, a lot of emotions that I was holding on to, getting it out of my physical body. I started realizing how much it helped to make me feel better, mm-hmm. To reduce feeling depressed, mm-hmm. or feeling anxious. And the more that I did it, the more that I got involved with it, the better I felt. Mm-hmm. And so, but still, I did this. I was doing yoga for like 10 years before I became a yoga instructor, and it was obvious to like everybody around me more than it was to me, because I was doing yoga all the time, and I was trying to recruit all my friends and recruit all my family. Even the owner of the yoga studio was like, oh, I'm going to give you flyers, and I'll give you 10% for everybody you bring in, because he saw how many people I bring to yoga, because I believed in it so much. Mm-hmm. And so, anyways, everybody around me finally just started, they thought I was a yoga teacher, even though I wasn't. And so it finally came to the point where I kind of had to have a nudge from somebody I was dating at the time, like, okay, you're starting school at this time. So I guess my point of that is, even though like you can see what it is you love, mm-hmm. but sometimes it's hard to make that transition. And even after I went to school, I kind of had to be pushed through the door of school, mm-hmm. and then I was, so happy that I was.
Now, this was the yoga school, correct? Yes, okay, just to clarify.
Yes, thank you. Yoga teacher training. Mm-hmm. And so after I did that, even after I graduated, it took me probably about almost another year to actually get out there and really put myself out there as a teacher, because it's scary. Mm-hmm. And, even though I knew it was my passion, even though I knew it was what was in my heart, it was like, well, circumstances lined up for me. I consider myself very blessed that, circumstances lined up that I was able to even put myself out there. Mm-hmm. But, taking that first step out of the corporate world and into this whole other experience was scary. And mm-hmm. for the first good probably year of doing it, I was terrified every single time I did it. So I don't know if I answered your question.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, that's perfect. And there's a couple things that I think are really key that I want to call out to the listeners and the people that are hearing this story is, well, at first, the thing that you said, it's what I thought I was supposed to do. I think that's one of the most common phrases among college kids, among people who are starting their careers, or they're at that age where they're getting out into the real world. So many people feel that, well, it's what you're supposed to do, but we very rarely ever take the time to step back and say, well, who determined that? Who said that? One of the other things I love that you said was, when you were doing what you were passionate about, there wasn't a second guess. There was no indecision. unfortunately, I think so many people are either living or trying to live somebody else's version of the dream life or what life should be, that they end up just making one concession after another. And there's a reason that we have that indecision and that doubt inside of us, and it's because we know it doesn't align with who we are, it's not what we truly are meant to do. But I think after years and years of hammering that message into ourselves, we lose sight of that, the almost, I think, you could call it intuition, you could call it just that kind of natural understanding of what it is you want to do. We don't listen to that voice. So, so I was going to ask, and I really appreciate you saying that being an entrepreneur and jumping out is scary, because a lot of people think, oh, if I follow my passion, it'll be easy and it'll be fun all the time. And the thing is, it is absolutely fun in the way that it enriches your heart and your soul, but sometimes it's twice as scary and twice as challenging, but what you get back is 10 times more. And the people you're able to impact is 10 times more. So what I'd like to hear more about is, so you're out there, it's your first year, you're terrified. What were some of the things that allowed you to keep going, that pushed you, but also helped you to stop feeling the fear and start embracing kind of the love and the passion for what you were doing?
Oh, great question. Well, I would say, like, the first year when I would show up to teach a class, I mean, literally, I would be shaking. And sometimes I remember looking back, it felt like I don't even fully remember being there. Like, I know for sure I wasn't completely present, just because I think that was, almost like a coping mechanism. I just had to get through, and then I knew as time went on it would get better. But it was almost like, I almost didn't even realize until after the fact. And looking back, I realized you have to really have a deep love, or a very you have to be very passionate about what it is you're doing in order to continue doing it through that kind of uncomfortableness. Mm-hmm. Because anytime it's that you know that anytime it's that uncomfortable, you're obviously growing. Mm-hmm. You're becoming stronger, you're becoming better. And I was aware of that, but it's just so crazy to look back and think, like, you have to really love it. And that's, I guess, what got me through. That's the only thing I can explain, is that I wanted to share it so much with everybody I knew. Mm-hmm. What was your second question again?
So it was first just, how did you push through? How did you get through that initial hurdle? And then I'm blanking on my own question now, but I'm still curious to know, how did you start to grow your business after you hit that point? You got over that uncomfortable hurdle. Oh, first off, just so the listeners know, where are you located? Where's your practice?
Oh, I'm in Phoenix, Arizona. Mm-hmm.
And how long have you do you have your own facility, or do you practice at other people's locations?
No, I practice at other studios, so I hold classes and events at one of the yoga teacher training schools here called Spirit of Yoga. And I co-owned a business for a while, but that wasn't really my path. So right now I'm getting to be more everywhere because I'm doing more online stuff. So, but yeah, I teach at other people's facilities here in town.
Okay, great. And what were so you mentioned online, but what were some of the key things that helped you grow your business, and how did you come to find out about these things? Was it just that you were just trying one thing after another? Did you attend a seminar, or what were the key kind of hinge points that helped you make your business take off?
Hard work.
Great answer.
I mean, seriously, I've heard people say this so many times, but it's so true. You just have to keep. I mean, obviously, I'm like an information junkie, so I take as many I mean, I take as many seminars, classes, workshops, webinars as I possibly can, to be honest with you. It's almost like an addiction. But, you know, I definitely stay educated, definitely stay informed as much as I possibly can. But really, it's just continuing to persevere. It's just continuing to go. It's just continuing to keep putting one foot in front of the other, because it's and that's a part of what you said, like it's not easy. Some days I want to just curl up in my bed and feel sorry for myself. But and sometimes I do. You know, sometimes you have to take those days, those down days where you have to replenish. And that's how I see it now, is like when I get down, you know, it's way less than it used to be, but there's, you know, I'm human, so it's going to happen. I see that as I'm tired, and one of the things that about, you know, doing your own thing, being an entrepreneur, you know, trying to run your own business, is we can sort of fall into this trap where we never stop working. And I know I'll be up to the wee hours of the morning, and it's like I will not give myself a day off. And I don't. Sometimes there's been times where I don't even notice until I'm so exhausted, I'm on the verge of tears, you know. And then I'm like, okay, I need to rest. And it's like you have to literally schedule out days and times to replenish yourself the same way you schedule days and times for your business or for your appointments or for whatever it is you do. So I would say that is key. And just continue. And you know, the other thing too is like I'm always scared, but I always do it anyways. And I think that's a really important thing, is like just remembering that just because you're scared, I mean, fear is there for a good reason. It warns us about things, but it's like just because you're scared doesn't mean you shouldn't do it, because that you're going to be scared again later. But the more you do it, the less scared you are, and the better you get at it. And that's always been my thing since I was little. It's like I would kind of get pissed off when I would get scared, because I'm like, no, I will not be told. I will not let that stand in my way. So I would do it anyways. You know, if I just don't want it to, you know, it's like I always say, like, bungee jumping would be terrifying, but I don't really want to do it. So that's a different, you know what I mean? So I'm not going to do that. But if you really want something and you're just letting fear hold you back, don't. Just go out there, shake, let your voice tremble, feel freaked out, you know, just get through it. That's what I would say.
I love that, because I think it's anytime we're feeling fear about something we want to do, it's fear of breaking out of our comfort zone. It's fear of the unknown. And so often when you break out of it, you realize you were afraid for no reason, or whatever it is you were afraid to try ended up being 10 times better. And all of a sudden, it opens up your mind to say, what else is there that I've been missing because I haven't tried? And so speaking of that, of things that people haven't tried, I think yoga, I think astrology, Reiki, these are all things that you've been involved with for a while now. And I think there are many people, I think yoga has been extremely popularized in recent years. People are much more aware of it. There's more people getting into it. But I still know many people who have never tried it. I know people that are curious about it, but may be deterred for one reason or another. So what are some of the most common reasons you see that people avoid trying something like yoga or listening to a seminar on astrology? And what would you recommend to help people kind of overcome that initial bias or fear?
Okay, I like that. So it's funny, because with yoga, what I've noticed, the reason I get from people a lot is they're not flexible.
Okay.
Which is so hilarious to me, because I'm like, that's why you would do yoga, because you're not flexible. So that's the whole point. I mean, you know, not the whole point, but it's a really good reason to start. So, you know, that's an excuse I see a lot. Or it's, you know, sometimes people are scared to go to a class because they think that they're supposed to be really good at it. And just like you said, you said, it's become more popular now, and it really has become a lot more popular, and that's good. But also, with it becoming more popular, there's a lot of classes that are more, they're fast-paced, it's like loud music, they're more like strong power classes, and I think that people get intimidated by that because the average person doesn't really, that's not their thing. Like, they need more time. They need to understand what they're doing. They need to understand alignment. They need to be able to hear the teacher. They need, the simple, like, little things. And also to be reminded that it's not a competition. Like, and they say that so much in yoga, but it's true. When you get into class, you get really kind of hung up on what everyone else is doing. But the whole point of yoga is to remember yourself. So it's connecting with you and understanding where you're at, and then learning to accept where you're at and just doing the best you can at that time. And if they remember, like, they don't have to come into the splits or handstand just because somebody else can, that's not even the point. The point is really to open up to more of yourself and who you are. With astrology, it's a little different, and it can be similar with yoga too, because I've come across this as well. But people tend to think it's a religion, and it's not. And I think that sometimes it scares people, and then there's people who it's just not their thing, with astrology. But for the most part, a lot of people can relate to astrology if they pay attention to what's going on with it, if they understand how it connects to them and their lives, and how it can affect their life. And I think the misconception is people think it's a religion, and two, they see it in like the local newspaper or some magazine where it's like your daily horoscope. Which those are great and those are fun and everything, but they're not the best to show what astrology is about,
So how would you, like, what would, so since it's not a religion, it's not that category, what would you define it as just kind of, a high level, or just in layman's terms, what would you describe astrology as?
Well, to me, in layman's terms, astrology is learning to understand the flow of the universe, the planetary influences that affect us, and we may not even know it. And it's not to predict, although astrology can and does do that. But it's not to predict necessarily, but more to help you to understand the current influences and how this could play out in affecting your life and you, and then learning so when those things come up, learning how to deal with them, or learning so that you understand them, you can accept them and let them pass through, as opposed to thinking, I'm going crazy, or whatever the case is. It's like, okay, this is happening in the universe right now. Here's why I'm feeling that way. Here's what I can do to balance that energy, and just kind of have more awareness in my life so that I can live the best life that I possibly can.
That's great. And I really love that description, because I haven't heard it explained in that way. But to me, that makes a lot of sense, because if you think about, in school as kids, we're taught, okay, the way the moon moves affects the tides, and that affects the entire planet. And to assume that it could affect the oceans, which covers the great majority of the surface of the earth and not us, I think, to me, it makes a lot of sense how those things can correlate together. And so something else that I think I only became aware of very recently, but I think a lot of people would be curious about, is Reiki. So can you tell us a bit about what is Reiki, and what are some of the benefits people could expect to get from having a Reiki therapy session?
Okay, well, Reiki is energy work. And so there's different levels of Reiki, and people will facilitate it in different ways, depending on who you go to. But it's basically working with energy, and the energy between, you know, the person that you're working on and yourself, and you're channeling this energy. You know, so you don't want to be giving, the practitioner doesn't want to necessarily be giving away their energy, but they're more channeling this a higher energy, a higher light through, and you use your hands, so it's moving through your hands, and there's different ways, but you bring your hands over different parts of the body with people, and it's actually a lot of people work it into massage therapy, which is amazing, but not all Reiki practitioners are massage therapists, but you're just kind of, and you know, there's some people, they'll place their hands right on your body, and there's some people who won't. They'll let their hands hover above you, and there's also long distance Reiki, where, for example, I could practice Reiki on you from you know, a place far away, and you would, you know, obviously you'd be visualizing and sending. It's just sending this sort of healing energy towards another person.
Well, I have lots of tension in my shoulders, so if you could send that Reiki healing, that would be fantastic.
No problem.
I'm sorry, but you were saying, you were continuing about Reiki and long distance Reiki.
Yeah, no, I think I was just going to say that I think it's important for people who are getting Reiki. You know, I've even become really conscious about who I'm giving it to. I don't even promote that I give it, and I really only take people that come to me on a case-by-case basis, because well, I'm very sensitive, and people usually who are seeking out Reiki are too. And you have to remember that the person who's working on you you are getting their energy as well. So if you want to think about the type of person who is giving you this Reiki, is their energy the type of energy that you want to receive through this Reiki? And I think that's important, because you want to be able to vibe with that person and feel good around that person.
Okay, that's very cool. And just for the listeners, so I've been lucky. I've gotten to try several of these things lately. I've done a couple sessions of yoga, and I can tell you very, very safely, I'm far from an expert, and I'm like the guy who's falling out of the posture and like crying because he's trying to do, you know, some really crazy flexibility thing, but afterwards I felt fantastic. When it comes to astrology, is very new, and you're really the first one to introduce me to it, so I'm already learning a lot from you about that. Reiki, I had heard a bit about, and then I tried it out because there was a free Reiki session, and so just for the listeners, like Jordan had said, it can be attributed to some people. It's just they focus all of their energy into their hands, and then their hands feel very warm, and they give a massage. So it's like getting a really hot massage. So a lot of people say it's very relaxing. Other times, the one that I had was more the energy-based and not even touching. And it was really interesting because you feel circulation, you feel tingling, you feel all these different but at the end you feel a level of just kind of more balanced, more relaxed. And I'll be honest, guys, you know, it's the type of thing when growing up, when I heard about energy and Reiki and yoga, I was like, oh, it's foo-foo, it's you know, just mumbo jumbo. But if you think about, there's certain people that walk into a room and the whole room lights up. You know, it's like when your grandma comes in the room and you get a hug, you feel just this warm, glowing energy. But we never talk about it in that way, so people lose sight of it, and I think a lot of people can be deterred from ever trying these things because they hear words like energy and chakra, and they think it's bad or it's religious, and it would be contradictory to their religion, and it's really not. These are just things to help you find peace, find yourself a little bit more, relax, loosen up. And so really I encourage everybody to try it. And I'm, you know, closing out here, Jordan, because we've only got about 2 minutes left. So just one last question, and then we'll let the listeners know where they can find out more about you and learn all about your stuff, because I'm sure they're going to really want to dig in after this interview. If you could go back and talk to yourself at that point where you were graduating, or at that point where you were totally lost, or if you wanted to give advice to kids now who are coming up on or who've just graduated and are trying to find their purpose but don't even know where to begin, what would you say to those people?
I would say keep doing the things that make you happy. Keep doing the things that you love. Notice when you do things, how you feel. And if you feel more energized, if you feel happier, if you feel, just like you're really living your life, those are your passions. And it may be something that you do that doesn't make you money at that point in time, but there's always a way that it can. And so just keep following your heart, and by following your heart, you'll know you're following your heart when you're doing these things that make you feel great, that make you feel alive.
That's awesome. And I think that is such a critical point, is people go, how do you monetize? How do we turn this into dollars? And that's one of the biggest reasons that there's so many people that are unhappy, is they're just focused on a paycheck or making more money or climbing the corporate ladder. And if that's their goal and their dream, great. That will fulfill and excite them. But if they're just doing it because they believe they have to, and it just becomes about one more paycheck and getting a bigger house and a bigger thing, you realize very quickly that route of just achieve never leads to a sense of fulfillment or happiness, because you're never trying to enjoy what you have right now. So that was awesome. Thank you so much, Jordan, for the interview. I appreciate you taking the time. And so if people want to come learn more about you, more about what you do, or want to start seeing some of your YouTube videos, because Jordan actually was nice enough to help make a video to help me sleep better and relax before bedtime. So I'm very excited to do the whole routine. But she has a variety of YouTube videos. She has a site. So Jordan, where can people find out more about you?
You can visit my website. It's beyogaworld.com. You can also find it actually by typing in my name, jordanmacbeth.com. And then that will have everything on there as far as my YouTube channels under Be Yoga World as well. And so it should have all the information there. Okay,
perfect. And guys, if you're ever doubting if yoga will help you look younger and feel better, when I met Jordan, I thought she was 22, and as she said earlier, she's 36. So definitely give it a try. Check out her site. I'll be posting it on my blog at overcominggraduation.com. So you'll be able to find the links there, or go straight to her site. So Jordan, once again, thank you, and I'll be talking to you again real soon.
Thank you, Brian. That was fun. Thank you.
All right. Bye-bye.